mother when I was young that I wanted to get it to be a sales trainer. I kind of discovered it when I realized that sales is a profession. Now you got to understand something. It took me 15 years to figure that out because I was an engineer. Okay? And I was an engineer first. The problem was I was sitting in a sales seat. So guess what all my prospects did? Yeah, they used me for my knowledge, but they didn't always give me the business. You see, it was the sales skills that I was missing. So while I was able to make a living and able to make it happen, it was a struggle. It wasn't fun. And I was thinking about getting out of sales. And then Sandra comes in and rewrites the whole script. I mean, folks, my experience to Sandra, probably not going to be for you like it was for me. But it was a red letter day. I mean, it changed my life. For the first time when I saw Sandra, I believed that sales is a profession. And if it's a profession, then we should go out and get our PhD in sales too. Instead of just showing up with our product knowledge. Our customers love it when we do. They really do. And so I want to talk about this. And to kind of kick this off, if you could all do me a favor. If you could pull out a business card. And I'll explain this before we're done, I promise. If you could get a business card out, and on it, including the people that are here simulcast, go ahead and write Mrs. Q on there. We'll come back to it before I'm done, I promise. And we'll tell you what this is about. So if you could just do that, I'll just kind of keep going up here. So I came into sales like most people come into sales, right? We get a vertical education in something. For me, it was engineering, but it could have been marketing. It could have been finance. It could have been architecture. It could have been ag. It could have been a variety of different areas of education I could have had, right? Then what happened is I joined the company. Now, when I started with Train back in 1990, what they did is they shipped me off to La Crosse, Wisconsin. And for 6 months, I'm getting training. Now, what do you think I was getting trained on? Any ideas? Product knowledge and application, because it's an engineering thing, technical thing. We're going to be selling to engineers, so you kind of have to be able to talk the talk a little bit with the engineers who put this stuff in, right? 6 months of that. Then, January 2nd, 1991, I show up in Omaha. They actually had a need. I wasn't planning on going back. I grew up there. I actually graduated from Valley High, believe it or not, here in Des Moines. Never thought I was going to go back to Omaha. I had no family there, but they had a need, raised their hand, and they knew I was from Omaha, so they shipped me back to Omaha, and I'm back. And January 2nd, 1991, I show up, get the office tour, you know, shake everybody's hand, and then they show you your cubicle that you're going to be working out of. And then my boss comes in, and he says to me, now, go sell something. Did not think anything of it at the moment, but thinking back to it now, he asked me to do something that after 66 months of training, I was never trained to go out and sell. Right? And so what did I do? I just show up. Can I give you a picture of what it looks like? Because I don't think my journey is all that special. I think I come into business like everybody else does. I mean, where do you go to get a bachelor's degree in sales? And so you want to know what sales looked like for me? That's about what it looked like. Right? 100% commission sales guy. You have no money. Oh, they give you a little bit of a draw. I'm borrowing against my future. You got to go out and sell stuff. So can you imagine when someone says, hey, show me what you got. What do you think I'm doing? Well, let me show you everything I got. Took a lot of work, took a lot of effort. You know, I was able to sell some things. It just was not optimized. And so a lot of time was wasted. A lot of energy was wasted. A lot of money was wasted on me going out on unworthy sales calls. But yeah, I went anyway because I thought that was my job. Oh, it was tough. What I want to do is talk about traditional selling. Now, understand traditional is not a bad word. It's just the prevailing method of selling that happens when you take a salesperson who's primarily been educated on product and a prospect who's basically, well, you know how they treat salespeople, skeptical, want information, need proposals. When you put those two together, what happens? And what's interesting is that what happens regardless of the vertical, it's about the same thing every single time. Now, I knew this was the case because when I first saw this, when I went through a sales training course, I thought this guy was inside my head. Perhaps I will show you your selling system. Perhaps not. Now, to help make this real, I'm going to actually use a real selling situation. When I was in the market to buy an automobile, this was back in 2012, the previous franchise owner that I joined, he had this car buying story that he kind of made up. It was good. I thought I liked it, but I wanted it to be real, so I had this wonderful opportunity to go buy a car, and I was just going to behave like any prospect would behave, right? Just go and be the prospect, let the salesperson do his magic, and let's see what happens. And I want to see if what happens is what I train. This was my mindset. So I was going to be very self-aware, let my emotions kind of lead me, and just do what felt comfortable. So let me tell you my situation. 2012, I had a lease that was coming to an end, so I had a high need for a car. I always paid cash for cars back then. And so I had $26,000 saved up, and so I had the money. Okay, I had $26,000 in the bank, and I need to get this done today. And this is when people start smiling and giggling, because you know that's not what exactly happened, right? Which I find to be interesting, because I was going to go into my doctor and tell him what was wrong with me. I think I would be pretty upfront with that, right? But why is it that when I go see the salesman, the truth is there, but I don't give it to him? Isn't that interesting? And so a dance begins. And remember, I just want to see what happened. And so self-preservation kicks in. I'm not sure if this gentleman's agenda is in alignment with my agenda. And since I don't want to make a mistake here, because buying is hugely emotional, I don't want to screw it up. And so what do? I am loose with the truth. Now I have to tell you something that you're just going to have to believe me on this. Your prospects are lying to you. And they're lying to you all the time. Not because they're bad people, but because they just don't know. Even if you've been calling on them for 10 years, when the sale's on the table, there's other people they could buy from. And so they just don't know if your agenda is in alignment with theirs. That was my problem for 20 years. Okay? So this is an issue. Then what I do, he doesn't go away. He knows that I'm his guy, so he doesn't leave. He begins to advocate, telling me that this is the best day to be in his showroom because the prices are never going to be better than they are today. I'm always lucky that way when it comes to car buying. So sure enough, I'm interested in a car, and that was enough for me to move to my next step. And so what I did is I asked him a question. Now you're going to think this question is no big deal. I said, well, I'm interested in the Ford Fusion. My question, though, in retrospect, was really a bait. So from a prospecting perspective, I'm going to bait the salesperson to get him excited about the fact that I might be buying a car, so that will loosen up him to give me what I need. Because what do I need in order to make sure I make the right decision? What'd you say? Well, I need a good deal. How do I determine if it's a good deal? What do I need?
Information.
I need information, right? I need data, I need pricing, I need features and benefits. I want a whole, I might have to do a test drive. I need information. And here he is. This could be the #1 authority on the Ford Fusion standing right in front of me. And he's raring to go. And so I'll bait him. I'm interested in the Ford Fusion. Your customers might say, I'm interested in some software. I'm interested in a bridal shop. Away for free a lot. Okay? Here's what I mean by that. You get this from Dave Sandler's book, which is right here. We're actually going to be giving it away. But we get it from, it's his story. I decided to try it one day spontaneously. Taking my son to go see a movie. This was back when American Sniper was in the movie theaters, and I just thought, well, I'm going to try this. It was way outside my comfort zone. I had to prep my son because he would definitely see things were going to get weird. And we went in, and he didn't know what was going on. I didn't tell him. We went in to buy some tickets for the movie. This nice gal's in the ticket booth, and I say, 2 tickets to see American Sniper. She knows her job. She punches them out, boom, and she says, I'll pay $18. And then I pause, and I struggle, and I go, tell you what, how about if my son and I will go see the movie first? If we like the movie, I promise you I will pay you on the way out. Right? Yeah, and what do you think she did with that? It kind of got the deer in the headlights look, because this is definitely outside the norm. She just stares at me for about 3 seconds. It was awkward. My son now understood why I had prepped him. And she just repeated herself, which I thought was brilliant, because, you know, I'm probably a little intimidating. I'm not trying to be intimidating, but I'm much taller, I'm a guy, and she's young, and I'm thinking, who is this guy? I said, do I take it one more? Believe me, I didn't want to. This is way outside my comfort zone. But I said, I gotta try it, here I am. And I say this, surely you wouldn't expect me to pay for a movie if it's bad, would you? And all she said was, are you going to buy the tickets or not? And I bought the tickets! see the show. What's wrong with that? Why is it in sales we flip it? What's your picture show? I mean, what's your equivalent to the picture show, people? Your proposal. Yeah, who gets RFPs? Anybody get RFPs? Love those. You know, when I was at training, you know how long it would take you to put an RFP together? Sometimes 2 days. Only you get a call saying, oh, you were close. Next time, maybe. Oh, and by the way, had to work nights. Missed my kid playing baseball. Didn't get to see my daughter's recital because I'm working for free. Oh, that's fun. Let's do that. Professional selling? No. Made a living. I did make a living. So he gives me his presentation. It was a great presentation, by the way. 30 minutes. We were inside, outside, sit, front seat, back seat, indicator lights, cup holders, counting them all. Finally, we come time to the test drive. Sure, let's get that done. By the way, I'm liking this guy. We have relationship. I actually kind of trust the guy. Nice guy, has a family of his own, right? Throw out all the intellectual stuff like the pricing and the fact that I like the car and all that stuff. Throw that out because now biology takes over, and anytime you feel not okay, you will move to a place where there's okayness. We fight for this all the time, and so how do I go back to okay in this situation? All I got to do is get rid of the salesperson. So what is my response, prospects? Come on, what? Well, actually what I said is I need to talk it over with my wife. Because he does his close, right? Oh, but raise your hand. Be honest with me. Be honest with me. Raise your hand if you like being closed. Now, there are people that like being closed. And what I've learned about salespeople that like being closed is because they like the game. They like to see what kind of clothes they're going to use, and they like playing the game. But it's still disingenuous. So few hands go up. Because it works against how people are made, how we're wired. It goes against human behavior. And yet sales training courses all over the place a little bit, they're lying to you. Not because they were bad, but because they feel pressure. And the only way they know how to get rid of the pressure is to get you out of the room. And so they'll very nicely tell you, hey, call me next week. And then you call next week, of course, and yeah, you know what happens. Okay? So I stall. Now, of course, he does back, I'll buy the car. Now, if you were the salesperson on the receiving end of that, how would you feel? You'd feel pretty good. You'd feel good. Again, the happy ears kicks in, and they release me. They let me go. Perfect. Another note you can take. Be very wary of the positive prospect. They could be just trying to get rid of you. Happens a lot. Happens a lot. The ones that I lose are the ones that are happy. I mean, would you rather know instead of just disappearing in the distance, which is typically which will happen. So I drive home. By the way, what's interesting is I was driving home on my lease. I was about to expire. I actually was thinking tomorrow I'm going to come back and buy that car. I was pretty much there, but I had to get away. So I get home. My wife greets me at the door, and she says, "Honey, where's the car?" Oh, I just thought I'd talk to you about it. Okay. Well, in this conversation, she offers up some information that I didn't ask for. She says, I have a brother, who's my brother-in-law, who knows a guy who's the manager of a store in Ankeny, of all places, Ankeny, Iowa, right? He manages the Dewey Ford place. What do you say we give him a call? I said, well, sure, why not? We can do that. So I pick up the phone. It takes a while to get him on the phone. He gets on the phone. We tell him who we are. He gets all excited and then says, how can I help you? And I say, well, I'm looking for a Ford Fusion. Oh, got a bunch of those. What do you want on it? Now, could I tell the salesperson what I wanted on that Ford Fusion? Absolutely. Off the blood, sweat, and tears of the salesperson who worked very hard to get my business earlier that day, right? So I tell him everything I want. He says, perfect, perfect, hang on a second. Checks it out. Oh my goodness, we have this exact car. It's got color, it's saying everything. I'll tell you what, we'll even sell it to you for $100 less. Now, come on, folks. I would certainly hope that if you got to know me, that you would agree I'm a nice guy, that I care about people, that I don't want to, I want everybody to be successful. I'm rooting for everyone. I hope that would be the case. For $100, certainly, wouldn't you go across the street, literally, it was where this other car dealership was, in Omaha, across the street to buy that car instead of getting it from Ankeny, Iowa, right? Follow up, right? Oh, I'm great at follow-up. Well, let me define follow-up for you. Argue with me if you disagree. Follow-up is simply this. The prospect has seen your picture show and they own it in a form of a proposal. And you are following up on it because you're trying to get the gate fee that you have yet to be paid for showing them all that stuff. That's what following up is. Boy, did I do a ton of that in my previous life. I don't do it anymore. Do you know how much time I've gotten back? Huh. And you know how much more fun sales kind of becomes because of that? He calls. What do I do with the call? No call. So then I call him on the 11th time. And what happens? Yeah, crickets. What? This is how selling is? No, that's not selling. You're providing an estimating service. Basically what that is. Oh, hurt. Folks, here's takeaway number one. There is a better way. Now, for those of you that are in a one-call closed business, especially who's in a B2C situation, selling directly to consumers rather than to businesses, we have some of these people. Oftentimes, these are one-call closes. In other words, they come in, you talk to them, you understand what they need, you present to them, and then they make a buying decision before they leave. That happens a lot in B2C. Not always, not always. It depends on what's all involved. Financing, insurance, financial planning oftentimes could be multiple calls, even though it's a consumer sale. But most people are in a multiple call close. I know we were talking with Brett earlier today, and his is sometimes 2 to 3 to 4. And it could be a 6-month process even. So, like us, they want to see us again. And before that meeting departs, and before that meeting ends, we very clearly define what the next step is and agree to what's going to actually happen at that next step. We would call that a clear future. Now, let's look at these. Yes. Is yes a good outcome? Yeah, come on. Yes. Yes, we love yeses. Salespeople, come on, we love yeses, right? That's business, that's commission, that puts people to work working on some good stuff. Manager, so I'm actually incented to go out and get maybes because it gives this illusion that I got a future. I'm going to tell you what, prospects don't like to hurt your feelings either. And so oftentimes they give you maybes in exchanges of no's because they know that you can't take it. And so you get more lies. And that's not productive. You see how this is not very optimized? We start chasing maybes. Do you know that car sales guy chased me for 3 weeks? 3 weeks. I never talked to him once. I think I would even talk to him. I didn't want to ruin his day, though. So he spent three thinking about it, wondering about it, probably forecasting it, and he never had any business. Never had any business in any of that. And yet, he was chasing it. Okay? So I say no's are good, and so she was okay with it. So here I am. I have rules now. The rule is no more babies. I would love for you to make that your rule. As simple as a rule that is, the emotional pressure that comes with it, are you going to be able to handle it? I'm not sure. It takes practice, because let me tell you, the first time I had to put this rule into play, I was shaking in my boots. The customer had a great conversation with this customer, took him all the way to the end, and I thought this guy was going to buy, and I asked him, what do you want to do next? He said, I want to think about this. And there it was. And all of a sudden, I just wanted to say, okay, I'll call you next week. Why would I want to take this to conflict? Why would I want to wrestle with this guy? He said maybe. Isn't that good enough? And I said, but that's a rule. No more maybes. And so I said, well, I'll tell you what. I'm shaking my boots here, folks. Because this is new learning for me. This is outside of what I normally do. And anytime you try to do something you're not comfortable doing, it's scary. So I'm jumping off the cliff. I might get thrown out. I said, I'll give you 3 choices. Number 1, you can say, Carl, love the idea of training. Let's get started. We'll train. I'll send you invoices. And we'll be in business together. Or you can say, Carl, I don't think this is what we need. The answer is going to be no. I'll shake your hand. We'll still be friends. Don't worry about it. Or you could say, Carl, I like what you have to say. We got more work to do, though. Can we set up another meeting to continue this conversation? Those are the options I gave him. Now, which one do you think he picked? 1, 2, or 3? 3. Yeah, everyone kind of thinks 3. Let's talk about this some more. But remember what I said. Customers oftentimes tell you maybe, and they'd rather tell you no because they don't want to hurt your feelings. And so once I pushed for the truth came out, and he said, well, I'm really not interested. And I left there saying to myself, I made money. Now, it didn't feel good, but that was back then. I'm going to tell you now, it doesn't feel so bad because I've grown, changed. My belief systems have changed, folks. No's make you money. This is a belief system that you've got to embrace if you're going to have success in sales. The minute you need business, the prospect owns you. If you want it, you can act independently. And you can ask the tough questions. And you can do what must be done in order to truly bring the value that the customer is looking for. You may not have it, but whatever that value is, that's what you want them to have. So look at this. Imagine thinking of yourself as an hourly rate person, right? 100% commission is what I was, so you get paid on the sale. But let's change that structure to hourly. Now what happens is that my rate of pay changes based on the work I'm doing at the moment. Is everybody tracking with that? If I'm working on stuff that turns into an order, let me tell you that hourly rate is pretty attractive. But what's my pay when I'm working on the stuff that doesn't turn into an order? 0, right? At Train, I was 3 for 10. The three I closed, heck, that was pretty good. The 7 I lost, that was terrible. And when you average them together, pretty average. And that's where I was for 15 years, right? Well, here's the deal. Then I learned Sandler. And then instead of going 3 for 10, I go 3 for 4. Now, think about that for a second. They both pay the same, fair? What's different? What's different? My hourly rate more than doubles. I remember looking at some of these successful salespeople at Train, how much money they were making. Of course, back then I was judging success by that. I've changed my thoughts on that now. And I was just thinking that, goodness gracious, if I want to be successful, I got to live here. There's no way I could make that money if my hourly rate just was stretched out. But you see, the difference is that they spend their hours working on things that produce revenue. And they're able to very quickly sort out the ones that don't and move away from those. And thus, we would say that no's actually make money. No's will increase your hourly rate. And so the mindset shift, the change that has to happen, you won't believe me because I'm saying it. You're going to have to experience it yourself to really embrace the belief. But the belief is, no's make me money. If we can get our sales teams to really believe that, I tell you what, they will act so powerfully and strong in a sales conversation. And the prospects will appreciate it. Because I don't think prospects appreciate salespeople that are selling to them from a submissive position. They don't even appreciate it. And yes, the prospect feels safe there, but I don't know if they get the best solution to it. So we talk about this, when we do our training, we talk about this in terms of 3 key areas. There's a technical aspect of training, and most sales training, this is what they dwell on. They dwell on the technical aspects. What do you do? What do you say? How do you behave? All that stuff. And that's very, very important. But oftentimes, you could give a person the world's best training, and they'll become a fantastic technician of the system, but then when they get into the real world, they can't use it because they have other issues involved. Give me a salesperson who has the best technique in the world, and he'll be a failure if he never sits down in front of a prospect, fair? Well, what gets you in front of a prospect? Prospecting calls. Going out knocking on doors. Well, you see, we can train it, but we can't make people go out and do it. And so there has to be a behavioral component. So that's an issue that we have to train. And then what about our emotional positions? Which, by the way, never support the sales activity. You ever notice that? All the revenue-producing behaviors in sales are things that our emotions don't want us to do, like making prospecting calls, setting things up like this. This is hard work. And I got to tell you, the emotional position has to be redone, and so we ought to work on that if we're going to have a training that will actually help people not only learn how to sell, but then change their belief system about what selling's all about. All right, so let's just start with technique. I'm going to do this pretty quick. So imagine now I'm at the doctor's office, okay? And I'm at the doctor's office, wellness visit. You've been there. I want to use this because I think everyone can relate to this. But I'm going in for a physical, and I walk into a doctor's clinic. I walk up there. I say, I'm looking for Dr. Bailey. They say, fine. And then guess what they do? They ask me for my insurance card. Now, you may not think anything of it, but I think it's brilliant. Right out of the gate, they want to make sure I got money. This begs the question, how many times have you worked very hard to try to sell something to a prospect who's broke? Oh, they always love your stuff. Oh, they're so excited. Until you get to the very end, after you pour your heart and soul into it, and it's, oh, we don't have any money. Well, that's kind of a problem. Right? Jeez. Folks, it's there. I've walked in that shoe so many times. All right, so now I'm sitting, I'm waiting for the nurse to come. She calls me in. She takes me back to this little triage area, and then she does this to me. She says, hey, Carl, you're here for a physical, so here's what I'm going to do to you. I'm going to take your blood pressure. I'm going to get your weight, your height, your heart rate. We also have to poke you because we need to draw some blood using tests. Is that going to be okay? So what she did to me is she told me what she was going to do before she did it, and then when I said okay, she did it to me, just like she said. Why? Well, I think they're trying to do that. Hospitals are kind of a high-pressure area, and patient outcomes are important, and stress and outcomes don't mix, and so they're trying to get me to relax. Tell the person in the future, let them judge if it's okay. If it is okay, they'll relax, and then we can do it. Well, why not treat a sales call the same way? Before you get started, tell the customer what you're going to do. Why do you see customers? And don't tell me you're there to build relationships, because relationships are certainly important in sales, but the real reason why we go see customers is to go to the bank. Don't miss the priority there. You can be my friend if the check clears. I know that sounds terrible, but it's important. Otherwise, we end up with professional visitors, and they have a hard time having a lot of success. It's just reality. We can be friends, but if you need more friends, then go to the Iowa State football game and find friends there. There are plenty of nice people there, by the way. Okay? But if you're in a sales call, focus on the task. Tell them you're there for their money. I'm here because I want your business. Be blunt about it. It will create comfort. They'll relax when you tell them. You don't have to worry about this salesperson trying to do an end around. Just be upfront. Okay? Well, so the nurse is done. Then I go to the exam room. I always find this interesting. So the doctor comes in, right? Hadn't seen him in 3 years. Not big on physicals, got terrible insurance. And so he comes in, hug, talk, chat, like we saw him yesterday. And as soon as he starts asking me questions, I'm not gaming the truth, he's getting it straight up. And I always find that interesting. Why is it that salespeople, we have to work so hard to get people to be honest with us? But as a doctor, they just get right out of the gate. Maybe it's our perception that they're professionals, right? They have the pedigree. How many years of training do they need before they can even see a patient? Wouldn't it be something if salespeople had to go through the same rigor before they could see a single prospect? I wonder if the industry would be different. Because, let's be honest, we'll take anybody. You don't even need a high school diploma. All you got to do is show up, make calls. And if you can make calls and sell stuff, not only can you do well, you could be an owner of $1 billion business. How about that? Right? So there is no barrier to entry into sales. And because of that, I think there are a lot of what I would call, salespeople that have the bad agendas. And so prospects they don't know if you're one of those good ones or bad ones, so they have to behave the way they would do just to make sure that they're in control. Okay? But the doctor, not so much. Now, here's what the doctor does not do. Hey, Carl, check this out. Look at this. Look at this. I'm so excited. This came in just yesterday. Look at this. Look at the movement there. Look at that movement. Look at that joint. I mean, look at that injury. How's that? It looks like it's floating. I don't even know how it's staying together. And those ligaments that surround that, those things will stretch and pull. They'll never tear. This is a brand new knee replacement. I mean, this is cutting edge technology. Came in just yesterday. Carl, this will last longer than you live. What do you say we put one in for you? I'm going to tell you about it, Doc. And take a look at that blood work. So he disappears. I'm worried it's going to cost more. He comes back and then says to me, Carl, you have appendicitis. Your appendix is about to rupture. And you're nervous about it. You go through buyer's remorse, right? You go through buyer's remorse, and what do? You justify it so they don't feel so not okay. Well, but this is good, and the price was this, and then guess what the salesperson gets when you find out you didn't get the order? You get the justification, and you have no in the emotion. And that's when they perceive you as something more than what it just is as a product. What they see is something that only you can provide, even though it might be a commodity. If you're able to make that connection. Okay? Now, the doctor doesn't just wheel me out. The doctor doesn't just then wheel me down to the OR, right? I have to sign. So he has to have a decision. This, of course, then begs the question. How many times have you tried to sell stuff to someone who can't even say yes? And you find that out at the end after you've done all the work. Oh, well, my wife doesn't really want it. Or, my boss says we should look at it differently. And then you're wiped out because you've got all your blood, sweat, and tears in it. and you never had decision covered. And then we have the fulfillment and post-sale, which is really the presentation. We call it fulfillment because if you do it right, folks, you might not even have to do a presentation. Do you know half the business that I get, I never do a presentation. Because you qualify it really well, which is kind of what this is over here. This is all qualification. There it is, paying budget decision. Remember the three most important elements to a healthy opportunity is paying budget decision. If you're able to qualify it, I'm going to tell you a lot of these people, especially if you're able to make that emotional connection, just want it. And they'll just say, hey, can we get this done? My biggest account-oriented trader came to me without a presentation. In fact, I was sitting down for the budgets conversation, and before I sat down, I said, well, we decided we're going to go ahead and do this. We didn't even talk about what it cost. He didn't even know what it was. What the heck's going on there? I was able to understand their challenge, their pain, and without even presenting how I'm going to fix it, they just felt that I had the solution for them. Never happened to me before at training, by the way, until Saturday. And then, of course, the closing becomes easy. This is the reversal, by the way, of traditional selling. It's just the opposite, right? Qualification happens just like that. I'm interested. And then the close is all the haggling and all the back and forth over price and all the intellectual things. And typically, even if we win, we sometimes lose. Does that ever happen to you? You get a deal, and you think it's, oh, this is great, but you had to cut, and now you got something that you have to pay off later. Now, let's talk about behavior. This is the third takeaway. Let's talk about behavior. Look, sales is really a behavior thing. Everything happens in behavior. The technique I give you is what helps make your behavior more effective. Your emotions just support the behaviors that you do. So everything happens here. So it's good to have a plan. It's good to know, what am I shooting for? What's my target? What's my pipeline? What should it be? And then you should have the data that can support a good behavioral plan that tells you exactly how many orders you need, how many conversations and appointments you have to get, how many conversations that you need to get those appointments, and how many attempts you need to have the conversations and just to get a hold of someone. All of that will drive basically way down here, which is a behavioral number that I can absolutely control. Because at the end, you cannot control whether someone gives you money or not. You can't control that, but I can control my own behavior. We even say to managers, don't focus on quotas, don't focus on sales results, focus on behavior, because people can control that. You cannot force someone to open up their wallet and give you money. And that becomes very frustrating if you try to hold people to a number. But you can hold them to behavior, because they can make a decision to do it or not. Okay? Then you track it. You need data. Folks, this saved my life. I use HubSpot now, but this was my CRM when I started. It was just me. This saved my life because it told me exactly what my behavior needed to be every single day. And it has to be every day, folks. It can't go in spurts, otherwise it doesn't work. Every single day, this is what my behavior needs to be. How many calls, how many conversations, how many meetings, how many appointments, how many wins. And then when I take all that data over a 12-month period, you can see the months at the bottom, I fed that back into a little dashboard that I created myself because I needed something to tell me what I'm doing. Am I doing something that's helping me or not? And what was so cool is I would go ahead and I would put the number I wanted to sell in there, and based on all of the analytics in the previous 12 months, it told me exactly what I must do on a behavioral side in order to make that happen. Now, you don't think that's cool? Give me my behavior. And basically, I had to make, in this case, back when this was done, 50 attempts a month. And I should be at 50 prospecting attempts. By the way, when we call somebody, you get voicemail, that counts as one. You always root for the voicemail. Yes. hate the conversation because they may reject you, and you got to wrestle that to the ground every time. Prospecting is hard. I do 1,200 prospecting calls a year, and it wears you out. It does. Okay. Another important thing is you got to know what your pipeline is. You got to know what you need to have in pipeline. And folks, don't put maybes in the pipeline. Remember, no more maybes. I said no more maybes. So maybes are out. The only thing that goes in pipelines, you're not going to put yeses in the pipeline. You're not going to put no's. The only thing that you put in there are future appointments. If it's a one-call close business, then pipeline is usually more instantaneous. But you need to know what that number is so that you can make sure that your opportunities that are in there stay above your threshold number. Then you can sleep at night. I tell you folks, this saved my life. You have to measure the behavior so you know that the behavior is producing what you need it to produce. If not, then you either have to get more training so that your behavior is better, or you need to add more behavior to get the volume you're looking for. This all reveals it. And I tell you what, it was a godsend for me. It saved my life. Here's takeaway number 4. Now we're getting up to the top of the triangle. And this is what we think about sales. Now folks, it's okay not to like to do the behaviors that you do in sales. It's not okay not to do it though. Okay? Let me say that again. You don't have to like it, but you have to do it. Salespeople can look busy. I managed them for 8 years. They can look very busy. I mean, they'll move paper around, they'll be in CRM, and they'll tell you they're swamped, and nothing comes into the pipeline. Right? Well, why not? Why would they do the behaviors? It was very clear, do this. But they don't want to, why? Let me tell you some of the, I call this head trash. These are the belief systems that we bring into sales that are non-supportive of what we would call success. That you have to press through, and it's not uncomfortable to press through because that requires growth, and growth never comes without pain and suffering. We talk a lot about this in our program, by the way. That's another, I think, problem with sales trainers. They focus so much on the technique, they don't deal with the psychological and emotional piece of it, which you have to address, folks. How about this? Calling too low in an organization. Calling too low. You know, when I was at training, I always called the boiler room Bob guy. Call the boiler room guy. Because he's the one that knows the chiller. He sure does, and he'll meet with me. Can you buy anything? But it's safe. I feel safe there. Calling the CEO, I'm not going to do that, right? So this is an issue. This is a self-esteem issue that you can't, very difficult to train this out of people. How do you get them to believe that they're worthy of calling owners of $100 million companies? You think you can just say do it and they'll do it? I'm going to tell you what, they'll be terrified. Because they really believe that they're not worthy. And that is a belief system that's not true, it's false. But our perception becomes a reality. How about this? Begging for business. This is when we send out proposals. We have a client in Sioux City. Before Sandler, they were doing 16% close rate. They were just pumping out proposals because they knew how to do that. It was easy, it was very busy, they looked busy, and everything was great. Last March, just a month ago, they've been in Sandler for a year and a half. Last March, they closed at 85%. Now, I'm not going to tell you that because they were selling 85% of those proposals they were sending out, what they were doing is they were just qualifying. And they weren't sending out nearly as much. But the ones they were sending out were the ones they were pretty sure were going to buy. So now, they work fewer hours, and that was their biggest month they ever had. Imagine that. Making sure that the time you use, right? Don't beg for the business, qualify. And the people that, folks, we live in a land of abundance, not scarcity. The next thing, I would say, is limited money concept. Folks, if you're going to hire salespeople and you want them to be really successful, what if they've never made over $100,000 in their life? Do you know what people will do? They tend to go right to what they think they're worth. Subconsciously, they stop behaving once they feel they've earned all they deserve to earn. And if you're a manager trying to grow a business and you're trying to get salespeople on board that can earn more and more and more and grow the business, this can be a limiting thing that you're going to have to deal with. I had this when I started this business. Almost went under because I was earning the same money I made at training. But I'm also having to pay business expenses. That didn't work. I had to raise my prices in 1 year, almost 70%, just make it go, and believe me, I was scared to death. Campers, right? You get to a certain level and it gets easy. You know, you got your basic customers. You'll never add a new customer because you got your group of friends that just give you business. It's all nice, but difficult to grow, right? Again, sales manager, man, you deal with that. It's hard. How do you get them to take risks again when they have this book of business that they've worked hard to get, but now they're camping out on? Need for approval. We want to be liked. We just want everyone to like us, right? Just like me. And we put that in a way of, we put that ahead of the sale. And we don't ask the tough questions. We don't go for no when we should. Because we're afraid if I do, I'll get thrown out and they won't like me. And lastly is this fear of failure. Folks, if you're in sales and you have a fear of failure, this is the wrong profession to be in. Because we fail a lot. We have to know how to use it to grow and become better. So here's the last takeaway. Right? And I'm just going to tell you how Sandler engages real quick. and then we'll have questions. There's 4 parts to this. I think you have to think strategically. If leadership's not on board with any system, and by the way, this is not Sandler, I would encourage all of you to do something with this. Don't let sales just happen. Don't hire people thinking they're good, let them do their own thing. You embrace something that's a process, that's something you can manage and follow and track. It's a great strategy. And for businesses that want high performance, this makes sense. And you look at the ones that do well in sales, and they'll have a system, I guarantee it. Have something. And there's lots of good choices out there. And leadership, you have to be absolutely on board on because they follow your personality. They follow you. You have to love what you choose. So find something that you can embrace and make it your own, and then embed that into the company, and then you have a great chance of building culture. Structure. You cannot build structure in a seminar. When we engage with our customers, it's for years. We look at sales as a profession. So when should the training stop? It doesn't for a lot of our clients. We have clients that we've been with for 7 years, and we're still training our people on the same stuff. One of our forefathers once said, you don't need to learn more. You just need to be reminded of what you already know. People. Not all people fit in the sales seat, just like not all people fit in the accounting seat, right? Getting the right people in the right bus. I mean, a lot of you leaders understand this dynamic. Well, how do you know that I got people that are worthy of training, right? There are tools out there that you can use that will help you figure that out. You should not just think or feel, you should know. Get data, be objective about it. Trying to get a salesperson to be a salesperson in a role that they're not good at is not even good for them. It will only frustrate them and make them miserable. And everyone else. You don't need that. You want people that really want it, that want to grow. And assessments can help us understand that. And then we get to the skills. Folks, this is what everyone understands. We do training. Sometimes there'll be sales managers that just ship their salespeople off, thinking that will fix it. Give them some skill training. And then they come back, and 3 weeks later, they were doing just what they did before the training. You can't teach a kid to ride a bike at a seminar, nor can I transform someone into a sales professional at a seminar. So the skills training is important. And so, of course, we do that in a 2-day event, but then we always follow it up with the reinforcement piece. And this is how we build culture. And for 9 years we've been doing this, and having just great success.